This episode of Heroes of the Horn is brought to you by Charlotte Sedai. The way back will come but once. Be steadfast.
Welcome to Heroes of the Horn, a Wheel of Time podcast. I am Sir Matt.
And I am Sir Ezra. Welcome to our Wheel of Time book club. The horn has sounded, and we have answered the call. Today we are covering The Dragon Reborn, chapters 20 through 27.
Yes, sir. And it's a great time, man, because there was some big news the other day. We did a YouTube video on it. You can go check it out. But to me, the big one is we have a casting of Min for the TV show. That was like the one character we were really like, before, we were thinking she may not even be in the show, right? That, we were talking about that and just saying, I don't know. You think about TV and do you just blend all these characters? And there's just so many different ways you could think about doing it. But she's finally cast. So now that should also give us some idea about what we're going to see in season 1, which to me, Min only shows up in the Eye of the World for that one little part. So that to me, boom, we're finishing to the Great Hunt in season 1. That's where it's ending. I think really season 1 is going to be Eye of the World, Great Hunt, and New Spring. Mm-hmm. I don't think I have a buddy who's like, I think we're gonna get maybe some Dragon Reborn stuff in there, and I'm just like, that's a lot. So
that's a lot.
That to me seems like what season 1's gonna be.
No, I like that. I actually think let's jump right into this. This is Kay Alexander, right, who was cast as Min. We had from Rafe Judkins that of course Min's gonna be in it, but then people were like, well, to what degree?
Right. When will we see her? Right.
And if you only do have that little tiny thing from the Eye of the World, well, then how much are you really going to cast for a whole season? You're going to cast like the actual Min, and you're going to like show us who she. I mean, I don't know. It just seems like they're going to show us a lot more. And there's rumors that it was going to go all the way to what happened in Falma with the Great Hunt. So let's do it. I mean, she's significant in that. The second book, so she's huge. I mean, she's very, very, very important.
Big deal. Yeah.
You almost can't even show, like, even if you were only going to do the events of the Eye of the World, you would have to find some way to make her a bigger part of that, I think, if you're doing a TV show, because of just her abilities and what she does see and the symbolism around her and even the things that she passes on to other characters, her viewings. They're huge.
Right.
They're so important.
Right. Yeah. Huge. So it's cool. It's cool. Kay Alexander, the only other thing I know her from, she played Leaf, one of the Children of the Forest in Game of Thrones, if you kind of remember her from that. But she's like 5'1". I think Min's 5'5". So I think, I think she's a pretty good casting. I think it's going to work. And exciting news. So we also had Suin San-Chan announced, so we're gonna see her as well, right? The Armland seat. So that's cool. To me, I talked about it in that YouTube episode. I think that episode that's called The Flames of Tarvalin, I think is going to be a female heavy episode, right? The shows bounce around. Sometimes you don't see a character for a couple episodes, things like that. And so boom, I think that now we have Min in there. It's gonna be like Nynaeve's trial, right? Then, which means, hey, I think I said it on our YouTube video the other day. I think the next Wednesday, because they announce cast members every Wednesday. I think next Wednesday they're announcing Elaine. Let's go.
Wow. That would be crazy. I did see some of the thread on that, and there was a bunch of people saying like, "Where's House Trakan? Like, why aren't we seeing some of those things?" But we're still filming. They're still working on it, and they're kind of spacing this out. I told you that I thought maybe if people, you've got people who are on set who take a photo, send it, make some cash, whatever. Who knows? Like leaks get out. I don't know how they get out. But I thought maybe if they were filming some of these portions where it was men heavy, that might be the reason why they wanted to release this. Or I don't know. Maybe they were worried that it was going to get out in some way. It was just super,
It's cool. It is also cool just now that we have more casting, right? Now that we're getting more characters cast. We actually, I saw it on the Daily Trolloc. I don't know where they showed the White Cloak, right? We actually saw just what that may look like. It wasn't like full. They didn't have like a breastplate on it, but it was just kind of the cloaks and stuff like that. And so, again, man, to me, it seems like they're kind of, when you think about how they could do this series, right? I think of like Game of Thrones, again, great example. And you could even use Lord of the Rings, the movies, right? It's set in this fantasy world. And so I think our minds just immediately go to medieval, right? Armor, plate, leather, stuff like that. But then in Game of Thrones, it was very stylized leather. They made every house. It gave it its own kind of unique identity and its clothing and stuff like that, and just it blends it all, and you kind of create this world. The Lord of the Rings also, the movies did that very well. I mean, like the makeup and everything. And so now we're starting to see this. And to me, I also think they're going to be filming. We know they're filming in Croatia, stuff like that. I think more of that kind of think like India, right? Like silks, stuff like that, is to me like the way they're going to be going with some of the fashion and stuff like that. And I think it's gonna be cool, right? They've got a really diverse cast, and it's gonna, I think, help just kind of build. It's gonna be. I'm starting to piece it in my mind now that I'm seeing these characters being cast. You're like, okay, I can kind of start to see how this is gonna actually look.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it needs to be unique. It's already a bold. These are bold. These are great, I think, casting decisions. And you're probably right. I mean, it is. We are going to see something that, like, you don't want to just show us some medieval costumes and whatever. You got to make it different. And that's not really what is. In the book, it is when you look at the descriptions and stuff. I think it's a diverse setting. It's every little country is different, and it's neat. So I thought the white cloak, like the leaked White Cloak photo was actually really interesting. I thought, man, they're going for this. I mean, this is gonna be, it's just gonna pop. Everything's gonna really pop, and there's gonna be distinct. I think to see it, because I think that helps. Like when you can see something come, an individual ride up on a horse and you see them in that cloak. Well, it's so bold and it stands out in such a way that you're like instantly, I know that's the White Cloaks. That's the
thing.
Of the light.
The thing I liked about their costumes and in that picture we saw is it comes across as it's almost more, think of it like a monk, right? It's. That's how it immediately kind of felt like to me. And so it looks very almost religious, right, in a way. And it's like, okay, cool, because these guys are like an order, right? They're an order. And so it's like, okay, perfect. I can see it. It fits. And so I liked it. I thought it was cool. And then the tent they were by too, so I don't know if they're going to be their camp or that was just what they have on set or something like that too. But it had very specific design. I mean, it wasn't obviously just like, hey, like a filming tent. It was like a tent on set. So we'll see. We'll see with that. But go ahead.
Bring up something that's interesting. I'm just gonna I want to see what you think about this, because you've heard enough about like the White Cloaks and these are the children, right? These children of the light. They let's be honest. They fight for the light. Okay, right? They're the good guys, Sir Matt. And it actually makes me a weird parallel here to like the Night's Watch. In the Night's Watch, they wear in Game of Thrones, they wear all black, right? And they, like, you think about how their order has changed. It was so revered back, thousands of years ago, and it was so important, and now it's a joke. It makes you think that something similar has when I read Wheel of Time and I look at what happens, and I kind of know what is going to happen with this group. It's interesting to think that they, you can imagine maybe once they were, as you say, they're an order, right? They are servants of the light. They're ready. They're going to be there for the last battle. They're going to win this thing. They're not going to let the Dark One win. They're naming Dark Friends left and right. Yeah. I think we need to be out on the streets, calling people like, look, if you're a servant of evil, I'm going to let you know. Okay? Wow. People need to be informed. All right? No,
it's true.
I thought that, I think you're right. It does sort of feel like almost like, they look like they could have been priests, or they could have been.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which I was like, wow, that's different than what I had thought, but it works and feels right. And actually, while we're on that, I was looking for this, see if I can find it. Here we go. So it's dragonmount.com. A lot of the well-known in the Wheel of Time community. You know how anytime there's a casting, right, everyone freaks out, and it's not what I thought, not whatever. And I love this. They said, for everyone in the back, Min doesn't have to be 21 years old. Min doesn't have to be white. Swan doesn't need to have blue eyes. Moraine doesn't have to be 5'2". They just need to embody the character and blow us away on screen. And I think that's really, because you and I were talking about Daniel cast as Lan, Daniel Henney, and I was like, you were saying, man, that's just not that's not who I pictured. Or how I pictured him, size-wise. You pictured him as just this massive dude.
Yeah. He's just a little bit. To me, I was like, more lean. He is leaner. I mean, he's pretty athletic. I mean, you look at pictures of him and stuff like that. I mean, he's athletic, but there's a difference between being athletic and like being jacked. And all the pictures of Lan, like from the books and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like a bodybuilder, essentially. You know what I mean? Like he's jacked. And so that's what I kind of thought. And so, I mean, this guy could put on, if he were to put on, like, I don't know, 10 pounds, I mean, maybe. And then again, when we see him in his armor, right? Yeah. And he's going to look bigger and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. I think he's a boss. I like him. I kind of now, after hearing you talk, it's like when I think about who Sir Matt envisioned Lan to be, he's someone who could, like, almost
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay, that thing. All right, I was thinking like in Game of Thrones, I was thinking like, oh, you probably think he's like close to like the Hound or the Mountain level, like he could.
Well, he does look tall, but I guess if Moraine is actually shorter, then it makes sense that because all like you just look at the cover of Eye of the World. Right?
I know.
And Lan's this like huge dude. He's massive. Huge, but he's next to like teenagers and Moraine. Yeah. I mean,
yeah. No, I just think that's cool. It's something to keep in mind. I think, gosh, they're gonna do this some real justice. I think they're gonna blow us away. Yeah. I literally think they're gonna blow us away with this TV show, and it's gonna be the next. Like, it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be.
It's gonna be the next Game of Thrones. I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people didn't like the final season, but like, I mean, before that, I mean, literally, it was the show it was the show that everyone talked about for 8-9 years. I mean, it was like, I mean, everybody was talking about it, and I think this is that next show.
Well, I'll tell you right now, I'm gonna make this prediction. This can be years. This is we'll come back to this 8 years from now. Okay. The ending to this TV series, as long as it gets, is gonna
be controversial.
Oh, it's gonna be wild. It's great. It's great stuff. But at least they have the source material. They can adapt it how they want.
See, yeah, and that's the difference, right? In Game of Thrones,
it has an advantage in that, I think.
Right, and so it might also have a disadvantage. Well, because we know what's gonna happen.
Right, but I think if you're, we will know. Right. Yeah, I still think though there's things that they can do that are going to kind of blow us away that will be surprising. Like for me, Lord of the Rings, like watching that, I was still sort of like, this is epic. Like like I mean King Theoden's charge there, right? Like the Riders of Rohan. I mean even though I read it, I mean, come on. I mean, how can you prepare for that? So
it was sweet, yeah. And I mean, there have been other book adaptations where they've gone in different, like not maybe like they still went in the same direction. Like, I mean, I'm about to lose us like all of our listeners here, but Twilight, right? Twilight, right? Like, isn't it? I mean, I haven't read the books, I've only seen the movies. Well, that's not true. I read the first book, but I audiobooked it. But isn't like the last battle in that, like it doesn't even happen or something? And then
it's different. They showed us what happens inside of Alice's mind, and that is not in the books. We didn't really we knew that she showed them, but we never really got to see what happened. They made it seem as if it was happening, and we were like,
okay,
what?
Because I just remember being in the movie theater and everyone in the movie theater, and I haven't read the books, and so I'm sitting here and I'm just like, okay, whatever. And I had at that point I read the books. I was like, all right, I watched like the first 4 movies, just to get ready for that one, like the days before or something like that, and we're in there, and I mean everyone is freaking out. So like, this does not happen.
Right. Yeah. Well, let me give you an example, and it's kind of what we're going to focus on in today's chapters. But the dream world is something where if you didn't show us Egwene or someone entering the dream world, and we're just watching a TV show, and all of a sudden we just see Egwene on screen, and we see her walking up to Rand, and he's stabbed and killed, like you're freaking out, and then boom, flashes, she just woke up, and like, you know, so you can do things like that, which I'm sure they're going to try. I'm sure they're going to do stuff like that to really shock everybody. So, which is cool. I think it's good.
No, absolutely. So, all right, as well, I mean, should we just dive in?
Yeah, man. I mean, really, the only other thing I wanted to mention is that we did get a chance to kind of meet some of our patrons.
Yes.
Last week, and I wanted to just give them all a shout out. So Sir David, Lady Heather was there. We've been doing Zoom hangouts over on our Patrons, and I gotta say, the star of the show. Yeah. We've been doing opening it up just to we do it for our Bend the Knee Game of Thrones podcast, but we've let people for Heroes come in, and eventually we'll do just Heroes one, so we're just talking Wheel of Time, so we kind of just talk a lot of different stuff. We don't have to talk Wheel of Time, but a lot of times we go back and forth. Yeah.
Sir David is a champion, man. He is on our Zoom hangout, our Patreon Zoom hangout, and we're just talking everything, and he's like working his job at his pizza. He works at a pizza place, and we're like, what is he doing? Like at first, and then he's like making pizzas, delivering. I mean, the whole time he's just on the phone. Going to people's houses, here you go, and we're just like along for the ride, and he's just talking Wheel of Time the whole time, and it's crazy, it's awesome. So we got to give him a shout out.
Absolutely, man. It was amazing. They kind of turn into like almost like these fantasy happy hour sessions. Yeah, because I'm having some White Claws and we're hanging out and we're talking to patrons, we're talking nerdy stuff, we're talking whatever. And at one point, the best part was when he first gets on there, and I remember it was like Sir Jimmy like sees him and says like what is Sir David doing? And I lost it. I lost my mind because I realized what he was doing. I was like, let's go. And he was just like, yeah, just out on the route. And like we watched the whole shift. I mean, we were on for like 6 hours. Shift. And I was like, this is amazing. This is so great. So, but yeah, it was really cool to connect with everyone there. Found out that we have some people over on Bend the Knee who are listening and who are reading along with us as well. And just really, really, really stoked and happy about that. Maglum is listening and it's really cool. Weston, everyone, shout out to all you guys. It was really cool to see you, really cool to meet you. And I'm hoping to do some fun stuff with some of our veteran readers and our veteran patrons, just in regards to possible spoiler stuff, or even just chats about where we currently are in the book series, just kind of extended, bring on a different perspective. We had Nicole Sedai of the White Ajah was on recently, and we were talking about The Great Hunt. That is now up. You can go check that out on our YouTube channel. So yeah, just really fun, and I'm getting really stoked about this series and the news that's coming out in this fall, and a trailer and everything. And God, we need it. We need some we need some good news. We need some something, So
yeah, well, it's coming soon. So
yeah.
All right. Well, let's dive into the reread, starting with chapter 20, Visitations. Matt is visited by Selene. Chapter 21, The World of Dreams. Varen gives Egwene a Tarmon that grants access to Tel'aran'rhiod. 22, The Price of the Ring. Egwene has her accepted test and abandons Rand each time. 23, sealed. Egwene is raised accepted. 24, scouting and discoveries. Though sick, Matt defeats Gawyn and Galad with his staff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you is all I can say, because I'm sick of it.
Awesome.
All right. 25 here. Questions. Someone disguised as Elsa visits the girls. Behind a lock, the girls find possessions of the Black Ajah, who fled, indicating Tyr as their destination. And 27, Tel'aran'rhiod, Egwene dreams herself into the stone of Tyr.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So this is
it's Egwene. It's Egwene heavy.
It is. Yeah. And I like it because you get to go see some of these lower levels in the library. You get to understand more about, like, now, I mean, we ventured to the Brown Ajah quarters and talked to Varen.
No, I will say, one of, just as you said, the Brown Ajah, right? One of the coolest things about this, for me, was when she asked the question, what does it mean to be Green Ajah? And she has to explain it,
Yeah.
They explain, like, okay, this is, like, what the different Ajahs do and all this stuff. And I thought that was pretty cool. And that is, as you were saying, sorry, as I cut you off here.
You're good. Yeah.
Just kind of what this is. We do get some more about, like, what the Aes Sedai, like, day to day kind of do.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's, to me, it's like in those video games where you get some time, you can just kind of roam around and you get to kind of, like, go to the little side quest and you go learn about something. To me, that's what that kind of felt like is, yeah, she's asking about the Green Ajah. You're learning about the Brown Ajah. The red has been in our face quite a bit. We're learning about them.
The Black
Ajah, for crying out. Oh my God. Light. Yeah. So it's cool because it is such it's complex, and sometimes, like, okay, when I'm reading the series, it seems to just be like it flows really well, and there's enough. Some people say Jordan is kind of repetitive and stuff, but I think he repeats enough that you really understand it and you start to understand the dynamics, because he knows how complex this pattern is, and the powers and the power systems, and then the political maneuvering and all that kind of stuff. But then there's such really good enjoyment in just the characters as they grow and develop and intermingle. Man, I tell you, it's freaking awesome. I love the experience. I love reading Wheel of Time. It just always makes me, like, happy and in like a good place. So, yeah. And this is definitely one of those cool sections where you get to slow down and kind of see the world around us. Because I wish we got, like, for example, in Game of Thrones, we refer to it a lot, but, like, I wish we did get to spend more time in certain places. And sometimes you do. You stop and you slow down in a place like Winterfell or King's Landing, and you venture off and you see stuff. And that's really neat. You really get to kind of latch on to that location, and you have to. The White Tower has been referenced, so much here in Tarvalin, and it's like such this place of mystery. Moraine is mysterious, and ironically, we don't really see Moraine interact with the White Tower much up to this point at all. So we're sort of like, wait, who? I mean, still, Moraine remains a mystery to us because we don't see her here, and I think that's also clever. So, but
Absolutely.
Yeah. Let's so some major takeaways from this batch of chapters. I mean,
absolutely, yeah, because a lot of it is just it's just kind of a straight line. Well, I mean, first let's start. Hey, chapter 20, Matt is visited by Selene. Okay, Selene at this point has visited just about everybody. Okay, she's visited Matt, she's visited Perrin, she's visited Rand, right? And Matt straight up asks her if she's a dark friend.
Yeah.
And she says she doesn't follow anyone.
Yeah. Yeah, and isn't that interesting? I mean, the way she encourages, like, the confidence that she has, but multiple times she has been asked whether she is an Aes Sedai, and sometimes that upsets her with Rand, and sometimes it's just sort of like she's real dismissive about it. But it's like, you're in the White Tower. Matt is here among all these other Aes Sedai. So yeah, he's going to ask you about that. And it's just weird. It's odd. Like, she is such a mystery. And it the one thing that kind of...
How does this mysterious person get in and out of the White Tower?
Oh boy. I mean, here goes Sir Matt asking questions. he's on to something.
I'm not saying I need you to answer it, but
it's a great question.
I'm just raising it as a question. Just be like, I mean, come on. What? Maybe we shouldn't trust the Aes Sedai. Okay? I mean, because they're dropping the ball.
Right. First, you're right. You know what? I think it was last week or the week before. You last episode, you said something about, okay, so the Black Ajah, do they exist or do they not? You know what I mean? Like, we've been told they don't, etc. Well, clearly they do. Okay, so why don't you guys just fess up here and tell us what's going on? And then you have this whole business with, some girl can just, who's not an Aes Sedai, by the way, can just walk in here and do whatever she wants. And she can talk behind the Aes Sedai's back, so I'll put it that way, and tell Matt that he needs to be doing X, Y, and Z. Oh, and they're probably keeping information from you, right? Yeah. You're like, will they tell you that your father showed up here in Tar Valon? And get this, Matt, knowing that information and believing that maybe they did, but wanting to see whether or not the Amyrlin will actually tell him that. At first, she just says she you know, when we first are introduced to Moraine and we hear about Aes Sedai, we learn that they can't lie. They tell truths, but like they can dodge certain things. If they don't want to talk to you about a topic or an issue, they find ways to kind of navigate around it or push it down the road a little bit. And I forget how he puts it, but he says something about his father possibly wanting to know where he's at and what has become of him. And they're like, well, we'll just write a letter letting him know that you're okay. She does not tell him right away, oh, your dad was here with Rand's dad in Tar Valon looking for you guys. And so right there, I have to say, that's a little bit, it may not be not telling the truth or not what, but you're still being deceptive. Am I wrong? Or
no?
If I'm wrong, I want someone to send me a pigeon about this. All right, please tell me I'm wrong.
You're 100% right.
I just think
is all I'm going to say about it.
Okay, I love the White Tower, but there's some shady stuff going on.
Well, there is, and there's this like, later at some point they're talking about, it's Nynaeve, and they're trying to figure, what's their next step, because they're tasked to go hunt down the Black Ajah. And they're talking about, does this person fit into a pattern? Is there any pattern to it? It's like, is that all you guys got? It's like literally, it's like you have to look. Well, let's just look at the pattern and see, what's going on here? What's going on here?
Right.
It's like, do they live too much in the pattern and not enough in the here and now?
Let's go. What are you stumbling into here, man?
That's all. That's all I'm gonna say, because I mean, on one hand, it's like, if Rand al'Thor is the Dragon Reborn and he is who he thinks he is, then you better just get out of his way. Yeah. Okay?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's something Perrin kind of says. It's like, okay, wait a second. So that's why I always say there's this back and forth of like, you can get caught up in what's prophesied, or you can just live your life. Like what is or what will be. Like, and you just kind of have to, if you feel pulled one way or another. I mean, like, and you can try to order your life by the prophecies and by what's being, laid down or being told to you or what you've read or whatever. But I mean, at the end of the day, you have to live. You just have to. So yeah, you stumbled on something that is, pretty interesting with this series. You just got to get out there and be you, live your life.
Yeah. Hey, that's all. Yeah,
But you're right. They are looking into this whole pattern business, trying to figure out who the Black Ajah are. And I know we talked about it, and that Suan is kind of has laid this on Nynaeve and Egwene, and they've brought Elaine into it. But really, these kids just showed up to the White Tower, and she's like, well, I can't really trust anybody else. And they are super powerful, so there's that. I mean, it's been acknowledged that Egwene and Nynaeve are extremely, like, their potential is really high, very high. So they can hold their own, but they're not trained, and it's great. It works great for a story, but it's just like, wow. I mean, So there's that, and so they're on that mission. But to finish up the whole situation with Matt, just a reminder: he has been healed. He's been separated from the dagger from Shadar Logoth. There may still be some residue there. There might still be. They're kind of saying, "Hey, maybe you have to stay here." Yeah, maybe there's some of that going on. Yeah. So. Yeah, and he's super hungry. Also very interesting that Selene notes before the Aes Sedai come in, before Siuan and her keeper come in, that she says you are going to want to eat because of the way they healed you. So clearly Selene has some knowledge about the healing process and understands what they did, you know. And it's also weird that, Matt is a little curious about it. It's obviously interesting and I think he just kind of dismisses Selene as someone, as, you know, basically everyone's going to take interest in me if they know that I blew the horn of Valir, right? I mean, that's kind of where this is at. But really,
they start talking about options. The Aes Sedai,
yes.
Well, what do we do? Yeah,
right, exactly. And it's like, but I guess if I'm Matt, I'm thinking, like when you go back and reflect on Selene's presence and what she was doing here, that's a bit odd. Who is she?
Right.
What is she? Exactly. What is she doing here? You know. But he is also. How did she get in? Who is guarding the door? Gosh dang it. Like, who is... I mean...
We got Black Ajahs. We got mysterious people. I mean, what is even going on?
Right. So, but we are at least reassured by the Amyrlin that they do intend to keep Matt around. He's got to be there at the last battle. He's got to sound the horn. You know? They kind of intend for him to be that person. And it's cool because in the beginning of the Dragon Reborn... Moiraine notes it. It's sort of the theme, I think, for this book. It's kind of, we don't get a lot of Rand. You've noticed that. You keep telling me that.
There's not a lot of Rand in this book.
Right. Up to this point where we're at, it's just been
it's been Perrin and Egwene heavy, really. If you really want to.
Yeah. And now you and I are just now venturing into Matt coming awake and the fight. And I take us back to Moiraine saying, I've neglected what was right in front of me, which is two other Ta'veren who were very strongly Ta'veren. So that's something she can't ignore, and maybe she's been too focused on Rand. So I think that was almost a nod that we, the reader, need to shift our focus as Moiraine is, and you know, we got to learn more about Perrin and what are they going to go through and what's going to go on with Egwene and so on. So yeah, that's sort of how we set all of this up. Now, so anyways, they leave Matt alone. He's got to eat. He's super hungry. We can now move into kind of Varen giving Egwene something and talking about like her being a dreamer. What do you think about the dream world? Like,
yeah, so I mean,
is it weird to you? Like, is it hard to understand, or is it like?
No, it's not. It's not really hard to understand because we've seemingly been in it quite a bit, right? You know, Rand and Balsamon have had a lot of encounters in Matt's or in his dreams. I mean, everybody's had dreams and stuff like that. So we've pretty much been there. So just kind of getting that explained a little bit more, I guess, was like, okay, now we actually have some like hard data on what it is, what it's defined as. But yeah, they say Egwene is the first dreamer in like 400 years or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and so what that means is that she's been letting everyone know sort of what she's been dreaming about, what she's been seeing. Is she seeing things that are happening now? Is she seeing the future? What is it that she's actually experiencing? Is she visiting that dream world? What is that giving her access to? And that is all the stuff that we're kind of learning about. Varen does decide to give her a Tel'aran'rhiod that is like it's a stone ring, right? That is going to help her more easily access the dream world and allow her to explore it, learn the rules, learn its function, and see if there's a way to kind of tap into that. It's important. It's such a rare thing, as you say, being 400 years since we've had someone with that ability, that it elevates Egwene a lot more, and she is very much she's very important. So,
right. I was talking to you off air, and I was because later there's a part where they're all hanging out and they talk about how Nynaeve is might be the most powerful of them, especially when she's angry. And I was like, is Nynaeve more powerful than Egwene? And you're like, well, I mean, it's all just kind of different. It's all just kind of different.
Right. Yeah. It's sort of like how important is the dream world, right? So we're starting to see that Egwene has a really strong connection with it. And we even see that the other two characters that are near her, Nynaeve and Elaine, are deferring to her. Like, this is her thing. This is her speciality.
Right. It is cool. It is cool.
Yeah.
It seems we're starting to define everyone's characteristics and powers, right? So now it's like, okay, before it was like, well, they're all just Ta'veren. Okay, well, now you have Perrin has the wolf, stuff going on. It hasn't really been like fully explained just yet. Matt is now at least tied to the Horn of Valir. Right, and then of course Lan is a warder, so he's pretty he's pretty powerful, and obviously Moraine is an Aes Sedai, so like she's obviously pretty powerful, and then there's Rand, who's the dragon reborn, who's obviously just he can't control it yet, but the most powerful, and will be the most powerful at some point in the series, as is eyeing me suspiciously here.
Well, I'm just wondering, is he also not extremely dangerous? Should we not control him?
No, we should.
Should we not? Hey, no. That's the whole thing. That is what Selene is saying. She's telling
you don't put a saddle on a Mustang, okay? All right. Okay.
Oh, wow.
You don't put a saddle on a Bronco, man. You just let them let them go. All right.
Hey, I don't know, man. Moraine, according to her, she says that, like, look, I mean, he still has to survive and actually make it to the last battle, so he could kill himself before, or be killed, whatever. All
right. Well,
and
see.
We do. Hey, since we're on Egwene, we do see later on. I'll jump to that in a second, but we do see her kind of use some of her abilities, go to the dream world, and see that Rand is being attacked constantly, by him. I'm just going to jump to it for a second, because when he leaves Moraine, he does make himself a little bit more vulnerable, and it's not all. Everyone still has to play their part. Everyone has to do what they need to do. And it is a pattern, right? It is not just a single thread. That's not what the story is about. It's about a pattern. And it's about multiple characters working together, and everyone, playing their part and doing what they need to do. And so they've got to live up to this. We've already seen in the Portal Stone various versions of this story, and they don't end well. They seem pretty bad. And Matt seems to come out saying to Rand, I would never betray you, right? Well, why would you say that coming out of the Portal Stone? Is there potential for Matt to do that? It's things it makes you think as a reader, like, wait on, hold on, something could happen here. So yeah, and I guess that'll lead us into we'll just transition into Egwene going through her accepted test.
Yeah, so exactly. So we saw this with Nynaeve earlier, right? Where Nynaeve saw like 3 different visions. One, she was married to Lan. One, she was back talking to the wisdom at Two Rivers, and I forget what the third one was about, but those were that's what she saw. So now we see this with Egwene, and they are all involve Rand.
Yep. Yeah, they do. And so it's like you see sort of the first one, right, is the past or what was, and then the present, and then the future is that third kind of trial. Yeah.
Right. And so here's a question. And just because it's interesting, although you don't need to answer it right.
All right.
Unless it is something that is like explained later and it's not really that big of a deal. The funny thing is, right, so we see Nynaeve and Egwene go through this vision where they see potential futures. But in a different way, Rand and those guys saw something similar, right, with the Portal Stone, right? Mm-hmm. Where they're in the ways and they see like 150 different futures. So is it like similar, like is it like the way they project these? Is it similar, or was that just like, because Varen at that point seemed like, oh, that was weird, like that was kind of an anomaly, like she didn't even really understand what it was.
Right, and it's something that they don't. Those are something that like the markings. Remember, Selene is first there with Rand at the portal stones, and it's I forget what they call it, like the maybe or like the what the like this possibilities. It's this other
remember
like,
because Ingtar was there too, and he's like, every time
yes. I think it actually did a lot for those characters. They saw that their choices matter. That when I come out of this, I still have a choice. They saw
which
like
is why
other
Ingtar
possibilities.
Which is why Ingtar turns to the light.
He fights for the light, right? I mean, Rand tells him, right? You know that you can. I mean, that you just have to choose. You have to choose to fight for the light. You have to want it. That's it. That's all you have to do, and that's how you can stop being a dark friend. And he does, and it's just like, wow. Yeah. I mean, like, let's go. But in all of his motives, like, I think them seeing that every day our choice, what we decide to do is super important. I mean, just the way we interact with one another, the way we order our life. Yeah.
So will we, and you don't have to explain how or why, but does that ever get explained, like what that was?
The portal stones?
Yeah. And why the portal stones showed them those visions of the future?
I honestly don't remember if it is ever explained really, or if they learn more about them.
So is it because I was just wondering if is it something similar to this, because it seems like obviously the Aes Sedai control this, and
because Egwene asked the same question when she comes out of here. She asked, "Was that real?" And Shiriam tells her, right, that everyone asked that question, and that we don't. Like, was it? Are they actually seeing, like, that past that she's seeing, or what was, or whatever she did? Is that real? Is that an actual alternate reality?
Right. Because I guess my question is it does the Aes Sedai have control over what you see, or is it just the pattern is what it is, and they just can monitor what it is you see?
Well, and actually, so that's the thing. So you go in, and each person sees their own. I mean, it's kind of a private thing. Like, what was shown to Egwene is for Egwene only. They don't know. So she goes in, and it's really like she's experiencing, so sort of a cleansing.
So then how do they know? How would they know if you failed?
They are sending because you have to come. You have to come. The way will come but once, and you do. Whatever you're seeing, they're super tempted to stay. They're super like the.
So you could theoretically. So you could actually stay.
That's what they say. Some of them have not come out. Yes.
Okay.
They never returned. The way will come but once, and if you don't act upon that, you could miss it. So they are actually, and I don't know exactly how this works, but they are
like tapped
sending
the wheel?
Arch.
They're captain.
Well, I mean, I don't. It is still kind of a mystery as to what are they actually, seeing? What is it actually showing you? And there is something. There's another place in Rand. It's not in Randland. It's somewhere, but it is that another group of people will experience something similar. And it's explained a little bit more, and I think they talk about it more there. So. Maybe we'll see.
Right, because
there's parallels between the two.
Right, and that's why I guess I brought up the portal stones, because that's the only other similar type event that we've had. Yeah. Because I mean, obviously Nynaeve did her trial, and so now we are seeing this again. But we saw Nynaeve's trial before we saw the portal stones, and so it's like, hold on, are these connected? Are they similar? Are they? I'm just asking. You don't have to answer. Or whatever. Obviously we are, but I'm just saying. I'm sure there are other first-time readers like myself who are being like, "Hold on a second, these things are quite similar."
Yeah. So now the portal stone, and I'll say this because it is going somewhere. There is a reason why it's in here. It does two things. It allows them to travel across great distances, which is like they were trying to use the ways to do that. It's a portal. It's taking you from one point to another. But to do that. They do go into this world of like this alternate realities within the pattern. You have to use the one power to activate it. Rand uses that and picks the symbol, right? But yeah, whether or not, let's see. What does Lanfear
You don't.
say
Yeah,
about it?
you don't have. You don't have to give any spoilers.
So here's what she says. I think this is in. Let me make sure this is in The Great Hunt. I'm pretty sure it is. Yes, it is. Okay. Just want to read something from the wiki that was beyond where we're at. So Lanfear shares with Loyal that there are worlds where it is. There are worlds where it is time rather than distance that changes. Spend a day in one of those, and you might come back to find a year has passed in the real world, or 20. Or it could be the other way around. This one seems pale to us because it is a weak reflection, a world that had little chance of ever being. Others are almost as likely ours. Those are solid as our world and have people, the same people. You could go to one of them and meet yourself. The pattern has infinite variations, she says, and every variation that can be will be. So, yeah.
Okay.
There's that. That was chapter 16, The Great Hunt. But so, yeah, that's a mind boggle too, to kind of think about all of that, because that is what they spend months. Remember that they spend months in the Portal Stone, and they come out and they've lived hundreds, if not more. Flicker, 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 flicker. I mean, they're seeing all sorts of stuff happening there. So it's this, what Egwene goes through is much more controlled. And it's only 3. So I kind of think what maybe these guys saw was way worse, perhaps.
Right, because those guys saw like 100.
Yeah, and also that's even confusing because when they travel, they don't have Lanfear to edit.
I think we've said that Selene.
I'm still gonna
Lanfear.
I'm still gonna edit it. So when they travel with Varen, when Rand uses it and he goes through, they don't have Selene to kind of interpret what that world was that they used. So they
Right.
quite possibly went into a different world, and maybe it was one where they saw many different variations of what life would be. Because remember when Rand and Loyal and Huron go into the Portal Stone, they aren't seeing that, right? That doesn't happen. Remember? They only have to, they face a few monsters and they come across Selene, and then boom, they're able to travel a great distance. But that's tough. I honestly hope some people have some answers and can send me a pigeon on like maybe what you guys think that's all about. I've never really looked into it. I've always been mystified by it. I've never just had the urge to go really look it up and do a lot of research on it, because to me it just seemed like it was a way to show us that you can travel from one spot to another, and you can move there quickly, and then it also showed you that there's multiple alternate realities. So
Okay. All right. Well, hey. So let's move on. After that, Egwene, she comes out of it, right? And we do need to talk about how the ring, right, caused some frequency, some disturbance, right?
yeah,
the Tarmon
the Tel'aran'rhiod. Yeah. So when Egwene is going through her accepted test, and again, each time she's realizing that she's abandoning Rand to die, right? That was the reoccurring theme, is that in each of those, something's happening. And in the last one, she sees herself as the Amerlin. And they bring Rand sort of before her, and it's like, what should she do? Is she going to betray Rand? What's going to happen? This whole thing goes down between her. Her keeper is stilled. She's taken away. It seems like outside of that the other Aes Sedai are dealing with this, whatever this, like the resonance or the I don't know what exactly it was, they're holding almost like the gate open, or they're really, because then it takes Egwene a little bit longer to realize that it's there and that the way is out. And remember, the whole point with these tests is to see that you will, like, for you to face sort of your sins, your fears, the things, whatever. Like, you have to face all this. You're facing your trial, and then you're still choosing to serve the tower, to come back through the archway and join with them. And so it's almost like this trial of will and determination, and that even though you're very much sucked into an alternate reality where Rand is dying and there are 13 Murdraw and Dreadlords closing in on him to turn him to the dark. By the way, that was the second vision, right? I mean, that is nuts. And then, Egwene is thinking 13 Black Ajah. She's putting the numbers together and thinking, holy smokes. That's a little interesting, but. So yeah, I mean, she's seeing that, and she has to see him, dying there and everything, and say, the way will come, but I need to go through the archway. Here it comes. I have to continue to choose this order, this group, the White Tower, and this cause over all of that. So I don't know. I would love for someone to send us something. If you have other thoughts on Egwene and these accepted trials and really what it's all about, and if there's more deeper hidden kind of meanings to some of it, it'd be pretty cool to kind of, I guess, explore. And I've honestly never actually put I thought about the portal stones and the accepted
and the
this test
together.
Yeah, I've never really thought about those together. I just know, and maybe it's because I know the device. I know what they're trying to show us with the portal stones and what's going to happen later, and why that's cool. But the whole aspect of the various lives lived, and was it real? That's the question they all are asking is was it real? And it's more so that it's the effect, your experience in there is real, right? I mean, you did experience it. You come back into the world that and even though, dreams. So you and I have dreams, right? I wake up in the morning after a night tear and I'm sweating or something, and I wake up and I don't feel good. Why? Because what I experienced was real in a way, right? It may not have been like I'm not actually getting, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some of the scariest dreams I've ever had, but they affect you, right? They actually have an effect on you. And so when they come out of each of these things, those are experiences that they've had, and now it has changed them in some way. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Next. Next chapter 23. To me, this was the chapter I was talking about where Egwene is talking to Alanna, right? And she's asking about the different kind of, talking about the different kind of Ajahs, and she asks about what it means to be a green Ajah. And so she kind of explains who they are and stuff like that. And then Egwene's like, no, what I meant was, what does it mean to be one? And Alanna explains that you must love men. Right. And then she goes on, not how other people do and stuff like that. She's like, no. And she says that the green Ajah are the battle Ajah.
Yeah.
And that they are, stand ready to face the Shadow Spawn armies at, Tarmon Gai'don.
They're a big deal. They're really cool. They are, they're ready for the last battle. They're prepping. They will tear some people up, man. They are something else. And they do typically have a lot of times it's joked among the other Aes Sedai that if you're interested in men, and depending on your level of interest in them, you may want several warders, and they might have numerous warders and all that kind of stuff. Some of them, maybe you'll even marry your warder, whatever. I mean,
right?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I like Alanna because she's kind of saying that this was her fault and she should have stopped the whole process and she should have realized that something was going on. They do explain, remember that Varen gave Egwene the stone ring so that she could access the dream world a little easier and study it and things, and she's got these papers to kind of look at. But it's almost like the fact that having that in the same room and that she snuck it in there, and she had no time to go back from Varen's study back with Elida, or I'm sorry, back to her own quarters and drop her stuff off before like Shiriam intercepts her and takes her straight to her accepted trial. So she's got to strip down, and then she's got papers, and she's got the stone ring, and she wraps them all up and puts them next to the Tel'aran'rhiod. And so it's like they might have been interfering with one another, if that makes sense. And what's interesting is that essentially when Egwene goes through this test, it is as if she's almost going into, like, you start to make connections between the dream world and what they see in the dream world and what's actually there. And you can actually go ahead and connect the portal stones, go ahead and connect the accepted test, all of this, and look at, like, are those all somehow connected? Because one of the things that Alana says is that when they had two Tel'aran'rhiod in the same room that had similar purposes, that if they were similar in purpose, it's almost like they're magnets that would, like, you know, be pushing against one another or like, you know, causing some sort of like disruptance or something. I don't know, you know. So, yeah. But she's kind of mystified by it and just said they should have done a full stop and almost checked, and that they could have hurt Egwene. Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, you know, here we go again with the Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
People are like, wow, Matt just hates the Aes Sedai. No, I just think we need to, you know, question them.
No, Matt was warned by Tom Maryland back in the day that you know, to not trust him. Okay, so.
And I mean me as Matt, not.
I know.
Character Matt.
Although
Matt Cotham also has reasons not to trust him too. And let's just go ahead and jump to the next chapter, because that's Matt's chapter. Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is chapter 24 here. Probably my favorite chapter of the whole bunch, to be entirely honest. Right. So he wakes up, right. You know, he looks in the mirror, you know, he's looking better. He gets dressed, decides to abandon his spare clothes, but, you know, takes his dice. Okay. He seems surprised. Hey, there's no guards outside his room. Right. And so he gets up, kind of walks around, you know, does some stuff. And ultimately, you know, he comes across some warders. They're watching over students sparring with swords and all this stuff, and he ends up running into, you know, Gawyn and Galad, right? And they ask him, you know, are you here to learn the sword? Matt replies, you know, I'm not, whatever. And then ultimately, Matt says, I could beat you guys both with a staff at the same time.
Yeah.
And everything we've heard, okay, is, oh, Galad this, Galad that, his muscles are so great. I just, you know, oh my God, every time he takes his shirt off, it's like the greatest thing I've ever seen. That's like all the women ever talk about. Okay. Well, then they start fighting, and Matt says, luck, time to toss the dice. Okay. Yeah. And then they seem kind of interested. Whoa, this guy's speaking in the old tongue, which Matt has done from time to time. Mm-hmm. Right, he's spoken the old tongue, which is odd, and then within minutes, you know, hey, the fight starts. Matt hits Gawyn. Is it Gawyn or Gawyn? How do you pronounce it?
I say Gawyn.
Gawyn. Okay.
Yeah, so
because they kind of go back and forth a couple times. The audiobook, I think, goes back and forth a couple times.
Yeah.
So anyway, Matt hits Gawyn on the head, and like he's bleeding.
Yeah.
I mean, then people look at him like, dude, what did you just do? We're just like sparring out here. And then, you know, here we go with Galad, right? And Matt knocks him to the ground and almost kills him.
Yeah, it's pretty intense. I mean, it's pretty cool. And the whole thing is they're trying to be, I mean, the setup for it is really cool because both Gawyn and Galad are sort of like, look, we don't want to do this. I mean, come on, you know, it's just like if they win, it's like it looks like they just ganged up on this guy who's still super thin and gaunt, and like he's not even full strength, by the way. He's not even fully like recovered. Mm-hmm. Which, think about that for a second, right? I mean, he's still got a lot going on. He's just been healed. He's eating a ton. Well, and, you know,
I'll just say it, since he's not here to say it in any of these chapters, as our good friend Loyal would say, Ta'veren.
Yes. Oh man, yeah. No, it's
right. So then Matt knocks him down, and then hey, the warder says, they ask him. They say, who's the greatest blade master of all time? All right, Jerem. Okay. Well, he had once been defeated by a farmer with a quarterstaff. and they would do well to remember it. And isn't that interesting?
Yes, it is. Yeah, they would do well to remember it. Yeah, it's a really cool moment for Matt, just because you see how awesome he is, you know. And he talks about being from a Netherland, and then the Two Rivers. So you're starting to say, like, all right, what is going on with Matt? Why is he recalling, just using words in the old tongue more and more, and it just kind of he slips in and out of it, really. He's talked about not having his memories, and maybe they're being them being filled in with these different memories, and he's confused by all of that. So yeah, and he talks about his father actually in this a little bit, and that his father was also someone who used the quarterstaff and was good at it. So I just think it's pretty neat. Like, despite everything that they're taught, and you could be a blade master, right? But still be beat by a farmer with a quarterstaff. That was pretty cool. I was like, all right. So basically, all this hype on the blade forms. I mean, give me a quarterstaff, right?
Well, isn't Rand al'Thor the greatest blade master of all time? I mean,
it's a
wheel. Okay, it's a wheel, guys. It goes around, and I mean, obviously he's gonna become the greatest blade master.
Is he? All right. Yeah,
he's the freaking Dragon Reborn. I mean, how could he not be?
I mean, maybe. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, you said it. I don't know. I mean, yeah, greatest. Well, I'll tell you right now, he struggles quite a bit right now. He's still learning.
Is Jerem a hero of the Horn?
Oh, it's a good question. What does it say about him?
I clicked on his thing hoping I wouldn't get spoiled, and I wasn't. He's only mentioned like twice.
Yeah. Does it say he's a hero? Wouldn't be surprised if he was.
Yeah.
It
doesn't say that he is.
All right. Well, they don't name a lot of the heroes, though. Remember that at the end of the Great Hunt. So if you want to throw him in there as a hero, I say go for it.
Okay, hey, I'm fine with that. Okay, Ez. So we have 3 kind of chapters left here, and they all kind of center around Egwene, and Egwene and Nynaeve, right? So now we're kind of finished with Matt stuff. We go back to Egwene. Egwene's in Nynaeve's room, going over the papers Varen gave her. Egwene thinks about the 2 dreams she had, one of the Sanchan, another of Rand reaching for a strange crystal sword as a net falls over him. She dreams of Rand walking into Shayal Ghul and of Rand confronting the Sanchan. She dreams of Perrin with a falcon and a hawk, both of which Egwene is sure represent women, but the hawk was holding a leash and trying to fasten a collar around Perrin's neck. She also dreams of Perrin with a beard, leading a pack of wolves, and of Matt placing an eye on a balance and hanging by his neck from a tree.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it? I mean, that's what she's dreaming, and what does all of that mean?
How many prophetic dreams and visions do you get in this series? It feels like every other chapter, to be honest.
I will say that as I've slowed down and reread this, I am amazed, because I was even just looking in my book there for a second. I was looking back over the wiki, and I was looking at another great resource, by the way, for anyone who's interested, is the Tarvalon.net library. They've got a bunch of cool resources there. So I was just doing a little bit of looking. I was looking at actually Egwene's last trip through the Tel'aran'rhiod, and wow, it really makes you think about what those things are and what are they actually showing us, and how close are they to reality? Are some closer than others? I'm kind of still stuck on that, because as I read back through it, I'm thinking, wow, okay, yeah, I can kind of see more of potential patterns, I guess. So yeah, that's all I'll say.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, she's having these dreams, and it's like, is she seeing the future? What do you think? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I don't know. I think it's just tough to say, because again, that's why I asked that question. How many prophetic dreams do we have? That doesn't necessarily mean they all come true. But I mean, it's just like, geez, man, it feels like every other chapter is like somebody's having a prophetic dream about something that may happen at some point in this 15-book series. So I mean, I don't know. We're only 2.5 in, so it's hard to say. But Just feels like there's going to be a lot.
Yeah, it does. Well, so going clear back, this is something that Jordan does a lot of, right? So you've got Min. I mean, all of her viewings and what she is seeing and what she saw in the beginning of this very book was she saw one of the Tinkers dying, right? The Tinker that comes to see Moiraine, she knew that what she saw was death. And she was very certain. Her abilities are way more concrete, and she has like, yes, I know exactly what's going to happen, and when I know it, I know it. Whereas, like, yeah, I think the rest of this it's up for interpretation for the reader and even the character. They're trying to determine whether or not what they saw is it happening now? Did I actually see something that is happening, or am I seeing something that will happen? Yeah, I mean, just kind of a comment, something that they have to wade through, and we have to wade through as well. So
no, it's great. I wasn't criticizing. I'm just trying to think about like this and reading towards the future. It's like how much of this stuff's going to happen, like next few chapters. How much this is going to happen in like book 8 or the book 14. It's like, whew, I bet it's like a lot for people who have read it the whole way through.
Well, it's actually that's why it is so well written. Like as I go back through it, I'm just sort of like, there's this layer upon layer upon layer. And then when you think about what Celine says and what other characters have said, and even Varen talking about these other worlds, they say that other worlds that are almost laid on top of this world and that you could possibly access them and things. They hint at that a lot. And yeah. And again, it is a wheel of time. And it is a wheel, right? It is something that has that, there are patterns to it and stuff. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's a good question though. It makes you stop and think at every single one of these. Like, will we see that, or is that just something like what's the point of showing us that? Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you what it is that like, so if you see that someone is in trouble, if she constantly is seeing Rand is in trouble. Is that a warning for her? Is that something that she needs to get up and go to him? She's debating, do I tell this to people? Do I not? Do I trust the Aes Sedai around me to tell them all the secrets or the things that I'm seeing about Rand? And if I do, are they going to mistreat him? Because I just went through my accepted test where they wanted me to still him. So, and I chose not to do that, and they deposed me. So, so that's sort of
right.
The what I guess Egwene is going through. So
yeah
okay,
all right, well, hey, so chapter 25 here, they're trying to find patterns, right? Because Varen gave them information, right? And they're trying to put all this stuff together. The only pattern Egwene notices is that all of the Ajahs except the Red, of which Liandrin was the only one, lost 2 sisters each. They're kind of getting frustrated because they're trying to find who the Black Ajahs are, right? So she thinks there's probably still some in the tower. Egwene notices that the 13 Tel'aran'rhiod have been stolen, and more than half of them use unknown, right? Last studied by Corain Nadal. 4 more have some connection to sleep. Another is a long black road labeled dangerous and almost impossible to control, which produces balefire. The woman seems suspicious that Varen has not noticed that more than half of the stolen Tel'aran'rhiod have been studied by Corain Nadal. And at one point, it's not this chapter, I think it was a chapter a while ago, where Egwene for a second thought that Varen might be Black Sedai.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because when she first gives her, and that's what she's thinking about everyone. Now
they're just suspicious about everybody. Yeah.
About everybody, right? And it's part of the problem that Swan has as well. So the Amerlin seat has that same issue, and that like, who can I trust? I mean, they're all very skilled at a lot of different things, and you saw even how the Amerlin was almost trying to skirt around the idea that Tam and Abel Cawthon had, showed up to Tar Valon when she's talking to Matt. So she knows how she works around things. So could others be working around some of the oaths they've sworn or just whatever. Right. That's why she trusts these girls. And so yeah, you're right. You're seeing the effect of that on Egwene and Nynaeve. They're like, everyone's Black Ajah. They're all Black Ajah. We can't trust anybody.
Well, hey, speaking of not being able to trust anybody, Egwene runs into a woman here in a little bit, right?
Yeah.
She runs into a woman dressed in all silver and white and notes that she is extremely beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
Who tells Egwene that she is bold to be alone in the midst of so many murderers. The woman tells Egwene that she saw Else, running away down a nearby corridor and leaves. And then Egwene, begins to head down. And then she can't find the woman. She's vanished.
Yeah.
Who's that sound like?
Who does that sound like? I know, right? Yeah, and so again, we come back to a security issue with the White Tower. We're just kidding, by the way. I clearly this is someone who we need to pay attention to and is causing some issues. Was trying. Is it Selene? I guess it's the question, right? Do you think that's Selene?
Yeah. I 100% think it is.
Yeah, I think we talked about
we've
that.
We've already seen her there. She was talking to Matt.
Yeah, exactly. Same description, extremely beautiful, or same description, excuse me. So, who is this individual who knows all this stuff about? The Aes Sedai, and seems to know that they're murderers, right? Or you're surrounded by murderers. What does that mean?
She's probably one of them.
She's probably one of them.
I don't trust her.
I don't trust her either. All right. But she does kind of give them, in some odd way, she's just mysterious. And then when Egwene walks past her, she looks around, and then boom, she's gone. They're trying to she's trying to track down Els to see if she was the one who dropped a little bit of knowledge in that, like, hey, you might want to go check out this certain storeroom where all of the Black Ajah, all of their possessions are, right? So they can't find a connection between. They can't find a pattern. They can't connect the dots. It all seems random. It's almost too random. You know what I mean? It's like extremely random. So what are we going to find here? And they go to the libraries. They go down to where do they go? They're going to the lower levels, and they come across like a room that's locked, right? And they have to use the power. Nynaeve gets pissed and uses the power.
Hey,
breaks the door.
When Nynaeve gets angry, she's really powerful. Is what we come to learn.
That's right. So they're gonna figure out that when they get in there and they look at the materials and some of the objects that were possessed by these Black Ajah members, every single one of them is pointing to Tyr, right? It seems like that's maybe where they were going, or that they were highly interested in that region. And so did they flee there? Are they going there for some other reason? What's up? And it's almost too perfect. It's almost like they go from complete randomness to like, this is too easy. Like, there's too much here. Like, anyone who saw this and sifted through this should have known that they're going to Tyr, right? So they're really now like, we're being set up. This is a trap, Nynaeve says. And okay, they're going to try to find some answers. They're going to send Egwene back into the world of dreams and kind of figure out, walk around, see what she can see, and figure out what's going on. Because do they spring the trap, right? Is that what they do? Right. Or do they go back to Siwan? How much? I don't know. What do you do at this point once you figure out that's where they go? What is their mission? Is it just it's to figure out like where they are, who else is maybe Black Ajah? So they've got quite a task ahead of them. So now I think we're into the last chapter here.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is where
27 Tel'aran'rhiod. Yeah, this is where Egwene dreams herself into the Stone of Tyr, and she sees a lot of stuff. And the question is she? It's almost like, is she actually there?
Yeah. Is she? God, I wish I'm going to have to go in our extended edition. I'm definitely going to do a little bit more research on the dream world and all these connections and things that I'm thinking about right now, like on the spot, like things that are happening in these chapters that I think are really important to future stuff. Because her going to Tyr, dreaming herself there, trying to figure out is there something of interest there? Should they pursue this? So And it's almost like, so did you get the dynamics of when she does fall asleep and she actually gets into the dream world, she has control over it a little bit. Right?
Yeah, well, she's a dreamer. She should, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if dreamers have sort of abilities inside the dream world, then that would make kind of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So she can kind of control various things, we'll get into more of what she can do, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, she sees Perrin, right? There's there's a wolf that gets close to attack her. Perrin wakes up to see her, and then she kind of, flees before the wolf attacks her. And then she finds herself somewhere else, right? By a campfire. And she comes across Rand. And Rand freaks out because he doesn't think it's actually her. He thinks it's a dark one.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. So, because sometimes Sir Matt reads ahead just a little bit, and I'm not sure. Have you read past this chapter?
No.
All right. Okay. So, all right. I got to ask because,
Do I think she's actually there? Yes, I do.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I think she's actually there. She's actually interacting with Perrin, and she's actually interacting with Rand.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
And the reason I say so is because she finds Rand out in the middle of nowhere, right, by like a campfire, and that's exactly where I imagine Rand being right now. Is out in the middle of nowhere by himself, since we haven't seen him, and like scared and tired and just hasn't seen anybody, hasn't seen his friends, hasn't talked to anybody. Who knows what he's thinking? I mean, he's thinking about, he's talked about killing himself before he destroys the world and all. I mean, I 100% believe that she actually is there in some sort of, it's almost like Luke Skywalker in episode 8, where he's like a force projecting, except she's actually there, but just through the dream world.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, whether or not she can physically interact with him, I guess I should say, is interesting. Is maybe the difference, but
yeah. Okay, cool.
Certainly she could be standing next to him and talk to him.
Yeah,
at least.
Yeah. And there's the interaction between like Perrin's the wolf that is next to Perrin like chases her off and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Right. All right. So after that, you're right. She comes across Perrin. She comes across Rand. Really interesting stuff there. And then eventually, she tries to focus on her mission, and she ends up finding herself in Tyr. Right. She's in this great hall filled with red stone columns, and she meets this ugly servant woman named Sylvie. Who is Sylvie? What is going? Because Sylvie's talking about Balsamon. Right? In this great crystal sword. Like, I mean, who is this?
Kalendor.
So she notices the sword. Interesting that she notes that it's guarded by this complex weave. It's Saidar and Saidin. Both are seemingly protecting it, according to Egwene. And then she's seeing this. This is like she's focused on just her mission, and this is where she is taken, or she goes to. They hear voices, not quite sure who's coming or what's going on, and then she has to get out of there. And she has this kind of like agonizing pain when she wakes up, and she tells everybody what happened, except for she does leave out Perrin's bit about the wolves. She's still kind of protecting Perrin. She knows a bit more about that, I think, and she was around when he went through some of he was there with Elias, and it's Perrin's story. It's his bit to tell, so she's not really gonna reveal much about that. But everything seems to be pointing towards Kalendor and Tyr, and we've heard Rand talking about stuff like that. We've heard Perrin and all those other individuals in the camp with Moraine were dreaming about a sword, right? That shining sword. So
I do just want to say really quick, because when I read that it's called Kalendor, I had to go look it up because I was like, where have I heard that before? And so I remember I was at this play once, and it was a play about King Arthur, and King Arthur's sword is Excalibur, right? But it is also listed. It's also listed as a couple names, so like Excalibur is probably derived of something, and it's originally Caliburn. And so I was like, oh, I know I've heard that before. And so I was like, oh, I mean, cool. So that's obviously right. So similar. So that's like, Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So just similar. Yeah, because I was like, hold on, I think I've heard that. And so I was like, is that like another name for Excalibur? But I mean, it is. It's a magic. It's a, it's obviously like a crystal sword. So it's a big deal. Yeah.
Right. So they have to decide what to do, man. They've seen, they have all the clues, whether it's a trap or not. They've got the Black Ajah on the run. They're tasked to hunt them down. They've been raised accepted. Elaine and Egwene share a moment after the accepted test. They're all kind of bonding over that. And, they have to figure out, though. So Elaine, the whole issue here, and this is what's kind of, this is the last little curveball, right, is that Elaine wants to go with them. She doesn't have to, but she is in on this now because they've included her. And so she almost knows too much. And also she just will not be told that she's not going, but we know that her mother, Queen Morghese, is would not be in favor of her hunting the Black Ajah, right? Come on, I mean that's not. I
mean, come on, I mean
who's gonna let their daughter go and do that, right?
Exactly, yeah. Especially when it's like, hey, these all people just became Aes Sedai. Let's go send novices against like Black Ajah.
Right, yeah, it's kind of crazy. But they need.
I mean,
to,
dude, what are other new Aes Sedai get? Do they? I mean, what are their tasks? I mean,
right. Well, that's what I said. Like, yeah, the whole thing is that like it's almost like someone's put in this position where who else can I trust? I know they're very powerful. It's as if they've been sent to me for some reason. They seem to be special. Everyone agrees that they're special and super powerful. So, there's that. I don't know, but anyway, the whole point is that they do not want Queen Morghese coming back and getting pissed at the Amyrlin and everyone else if they just take off and pursue this. And they're debating whether or not they should do that. So they would need someone to take a message to her mother, take a letter, notify her mother that she's okay. That's what they discussed at the end of that. And all Nynaeve says is that she knows the perfect messenger, right? She knows the perfect messenger. So we'll see who that is later on when we get into the next chapters. But
okay, all right. Hey, we got a pigeon here. Are we reading this one today?
Absolutely. So, Lady Aaron.
Lady Aaron here. She says, hey, I have heard of the Wheel of Time on Bend the Knee. I knew if you guys recommended it, I would love it too, and I do. My dad and I are reading it together. He's a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so I thought he might like this as well. We are currently finishing up the first book and having our own book club. It's bringing us together. Thank you for all the work you do. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we're getting into it now before the show, because it's going to be nice to be kind of like, oh, I know what happens and all of this stuff. But I mean, a year from now, it's going to be about all new people, right? Because they're going to be all watching the show for the first time and getting and starting to check out the books and stuff like that and see what's all going on with it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's really cool. I'm really glad that Lady Aaron sent that to us, and really cool. I kind of want to know what they're talking about, man. I want to know what her and her dad are discussing. You know, what are their thoughts on this? I can imagine that if he's a Lord of the Rings fan, he would really like this, because Robert Jordan's whole thing is that he wanted this to be this great tale for us here, right? And that, you know,
right,
and to basically say, I'm going to take what we have in the Lord of the Rings and in his mind make it more real and more now, and what would it be like to be, you know, those boys that are tapped on the shoulder and said, let's go save the world, you know, what's that like? So really cool. Thank you Lady Aaron. That's awesome. And you guys feel free to send those in. I'd love to hear what you guys' thoughts are. And again, like this episode, I will say, I have pulled up right now as we go into the extended edition after this episode is over. I've got the accepted test pulled up. I mean, this whole time I've been pulling up tabs here and just diving down my own separate rabbit holes here, because Matt's asking these questions and I'm going, there's a connect. Can
I talk about it? Can I not talk? Right.
Can I not? And also like, I do want to have a partial conversation about it with you, because I think I have a little better. Yeah. I think I have a little better answer for you. So we'll get into that in the extended edition. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, guys, with that, we want to thank you for answering the call. In our next episode, we will be discussing The Dragon Reborn, Part 4, chapters 28 through 34.
If you like our podcast, don't forget to subscribe, like us, write a review, leave a comment, or send us a message at thehornofvalir@gmail.com.
We will see you guys soon, and remember that the grave is no bar to our call.